So, next part, and I'm going to talk about two artists today. So it's another bit of an art lesson, but obviously very small. And you could find out much more information if you wanted to carry on and research and learn more. But I'm going to be making some tags. Now, I've already filmed the first part of this video, which is the making of the tags. So I'm going to insert that fairly shortly, and then I will carry on and do something else on top of the tags that I painted. The painting section is going to be sped up with music. It's probably about 5 minutes because I did film it. I filmed it last week when I had a bit of a runny nose and I didn't want sniffing in my video. So for those of you that don't like music, please turn it off or fast forward to the second part of this video. I'm going to be using, or these tags are going to be inspired by two particular artists. Both of them are artists that I absolutely love. I studied both of them during my degree. One of them is Henri Matisse, and he was an amazing painter. He had a very flat style, used very kind of uncautious lines, I suppose you'd say. But when he became ill in his later life, he wasn't able to paint anymore. So he created this, it was kind of an innovative style of art called cutouts. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. And they started off fairly small, small pieces of work, and then they became monumental. They were room size pieces of work. And we're going to use his technique of cutouts today. And also another fabulous artist is Kandinsky. We're going to be having a little look using the cutout design of his concentric circles, squares and concentric circles, which actually wasn't a body of work. It actually wasn't supposed to be a final piece of work. It was a study that he was doing, looking at colour combinations, shape combinations and things like that. So we're going to be doing a bit of a variation of those. And the reason I want to talk about these two artists, and I'm sorry I'm already 2 minutes in, still talking. The reason I want to talk about these two artists is because we see an awful lot of comments and things like that saying, oh, so-and-so did this, or so-and-so did that, or this journal maker did it, or that journal maker did it. Well, I just want to prove a point that us journal makers we're not precursors to anything. There's always artists out there where the inspiration is coming from. And, we're talking about early 1900s. And Matisse in particular started doing this in the 40s. So us cutting out paper and sticking it down, it's not new. It's not our idea. And there were artists that did it even before that, because this whole concept of Matisse's work came from another technique which actually started off in cave drawings. So it's a little bit of a history of art there. I'm not going to go on too much, and I haven't got any notes, so hopefully I haven't said anything out of place. But I'm now going to insert the little video of me making the tags. Hello. I am going to be making some tags using my jelly plate. I've got a few paper cutouts here. I have made somewhere a nice big pile of tags. So I have a few of the tags that I made. Now the stencils I used are actually my designed stencils. I have these are probably not the final stencils because I cut several out. Eventually there are going to be packs of stencils in my shop. Most of them were hand drawn, so they're far from perfect, but that's kind of what I like about them. And these are all tags that didn't necessarily actually like the way they came out. So these are the ones we're going to be working onto. And like I said, we're going to be using this technique called cutouts, and we're going to be inspired by Matisse and by Kandinsky for this. So the first thing that I want to do is one of these tags. So I'm a bit short of breath because I was just like so excited to be talking about artists. This one, you can see I actually used a certain technique when I made this using actually cut out petals. So I'm going to work on this one first, and I'm going to get myself 2 sheets of book page. Now Matisse he actually had his assistants paint his paper for him. They painted the papers, and because he had various people painting his papers for him, and it was flat colour, usually fairly bright colours. The one thing that I really need for this is my scissors. Here we go. So yeah, he got several different people to cut out his to paint his papers, and he would then, with his giant pair of scissors, would then cut out shapes. Most of them were very organic. He did an absolutely fabulous series called Jazz, which it was just absolutely superb. One of my favourite pieces is his Icarus work, so do go and look that up if you don't know Matisse. So we're not using coloured paper because I wanted to kind of have something that was going to be contrasted onto the background. So I feel very, very overexcited. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, quite like that as a composition. Adding these flowers, they will obviously they will need more, but we are just cutting out papers and laying them down at the moment. So I'm going to grab this distress collage medium. Unfortunately, it seems to be out of stock everywhere in the tub, and I absolutely love this stuff. I have to say, I use a lot of matte medium, but this just seems to work really nicely. So I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way and pop this into a tub and do this myself. Now I don't want all of the words to be the same way, so I'm going to just add these, go round in my flower shape. I don't know how to kind of put it into words really, but I don't think we appreciate enough where our work began, where there's many of us out there that have qualifications in art, but we don't share that knowledge as such when we do these kind of videos. We do our we do our process videos, if you like, but I think when you've studied art, you can kind of look back and see where some of these techniques, ideas have come from, and it's quite sad when people claim things as their own. And I'm not saying we all do that. We all have an idea that's new, but it's always based on something else. It's always, the inspiration has always come from somewhere from the past, even if it's just the aesthetic, if it's just something, how something looks. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the next video, so please feel free not to watch if I've already bored you too much. So that is the start of that one. Okay, now let's have a look. What else have we got? This to me is extremely busy, and I can't say that the pink is really doing much for me. So I'm going to pick something. Now I have actually quite like this. This is just a scrap piece of you know, roll off paper. So what I'm going to do is get rid of some of these straight edges. I know we're going to cut some straight edges, but they're going to be a shape rather than a pattern. And I'm just thinking about what kind of shape might work with this. What kind of shape would fit with these pebbly, bubbly kind of shapes, and what would work over the top of that. And I think it needs to be something quite clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 straight lines down the edge. Okay, so we're going to have something like that. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up here. Now this is where we can move away from just our scissors, and I'm going to cut out 2 half circles on there, and then on this side I've got my square punch, and ooh, this one doesn't want to cut out. There we go. I'm going to cut out some square shapes. And I much prefer that. So I'm going to apply the matte medium to the actual back of this time. So yeah, I have to get some of my books out, because I think it would be helpful if I actually showed you some images next time, so you could, maybe there's a bit more of a visual to kind of explain where these ideas and techniques come from. My all-time favourite artist. I have a favourite artist and a favourite photographer, and I know photographers are also artists, but I do put them in separate categories. But my all-time favourite artist, I'm going to be inspired by him for my next video. And I think it's great if you want a new idea for journaling, or if you want a new idea for you to kind of come up with something, then it's always good to look at some of these artists that are out there and been doing work for years, or who are obviously no longer with us. Picasso is another one. So I actually really like that. It's much more pleasing to my eye, but there's still more that can be done. So that one is on its way. This one also I find quite overpowering, so I want to do something with this. Got a bigger book page here, and then I'm just trying to decide which way I want the text to go. I think I want the text to go this way, and this time I'm going to be a little bit more inspired by Kandinsky and his squares, because I can't, they're not in a square pattern, but they're kind of a square. So I'm going to cut out some circles, and I'm doing it freehand. I'm not using the punch, so they're going to be imperfect, which is perfect for what I want. 2. And we've got room for one more on here. So that's 3. Okay, now I need to find, actually it might be worth mixing these up so they're not in the same order. This is some tea bag, coffee dyed tea bag paper, and I'm going to cut out, I love the fact that I cannot cut a circle for toffee, not even close. They look more like pregnant fish in some cases. So that one, I think we might go under, although I think I might actually make that a bit smaller. Okay, I'm gonna maybe cut a slightly bigger one. So let me know in the comments what you think about using artists as inspiration rather than other crafters and artists that are currently in our community. Do you do it? Is it something that you look at? Because it's certainly something, even since the very beginning of this journey for me, that I have always done that. So this is another painted paper. So I wasn't 100% keen on this. So there goes the glue. And I'm quite okay if some of these overlap. So I've got another one here. So I'm going to do a small circle. Or not. That's not quite small enough. So I want it to go on here. So I've got to make this smaller. And on here, what do we want on here? It needs to be another, well, this is quite cool because this has got a completely different shape in again, and I'm just looking at the bit that I think would work, and I want that piece there. So I'm not looking to make things match. I'm not looking to make things completely work together, because, you know, the whole idea, you know, that Kandinsky was exploring was how shapes and colours and forms work together with that particular project that this is inspired by. So now we just need one more thing for here, and I think we need to go back to our tea bag paper. You know, I have about 50 pairs. We're all the same, aren't we? Please tell me we are. But I have about 50 pairs of scissors, and I can only ever find one, if I'm lucky, at any given time. Okay, so I quite like this composition. I think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to glue this down. I will speed it up so you don't have to watch. That's okay. So we have 3 very different looking tags, just using a cutout technique where we're just cutting out. We can still work on top of them. Like I said, there's still lots we can do. I think we'll do one more. Something that's, let's have a look. I'm quite drawn to this one. So let's do something on here, and I know I don't like pink as a rule, but I'm thinking pink might be good. So I'm going to go for quite an organic shape this time. And it's just Matisse, he kind of described using scissors as feeling like he was flying, kind of flying through, or can't think of the exact wording, but there's a quote, gliding, maybe something like that. So this is a very Matisse style shape. So let's do something like, kind of looks like toes now. But that's quite interesting. Another shape that he used to do was stars in the Icarus cutouts, for example. All freehand, you know, nothing was, no paper punches like we can use now. But it's kind of, there's a beauty in not having complete control, not making this completely uniform, just making it whatever it kind of becomes. Just going with the flow. So that is far from a perfect star, but I love it. Okay, and again, more work can be done on top of this to make this more. I think I'm going to change my glue. What I'm going to do, if I can find them, is just give you an idea of how you can carry on working on top of this. I'm going to take my, this is a Uniball waterproof, fade proof pen, micro. What size is that? This one is, this one's fine, this one's micro. Actually, I think I might use the fine. And I'm going to just draw around the inside of that star. Not looking for perfection. I don't necessarily want my lines to join up. Okay, that still needs a little something else for me. That needs something. What could I do? Right, I'm going to take my Indian ink. I'm going to use a dropper. I'm not going to use the dropper that comes with this. It's actually drying out around the edge of my bottle, but that's fine. I'm not using this one because it's too big. So I'm not sucking up any ink, I'm just dipping it. I mean, I could have used any number of things. Didn't have to be a dropper. Now, if you get a bubble, don't blot it. If you make a kind of point with a piece of tissue and pop it with the tissue, you actually get a really cool effect, because there will be no, let me show you that. You see the bubble? The ink inside is much lighter. I think that's okay for that. Just going to lift a little bit of the ink out inside some of these, and you can do that while it's still wet. As soon as it dries, obviously you won't be able to do that, but while the ink is still wet, you can use your tissue to lift a little bit of ink out. I just think it's interesting. It might not make the cut, it might not go into the journal, but it might. So I think I'm just going to quickly dry this. What I want to do is I want to actually give this a dark edge. So what I'm going to do is, now I don't know whether to do this all at once or a small piece at a time. I'm grabbing my Indian ink again. I'm going to ink around the edge. Now, I have already distress inked this, so you're going to see some movement with the walnut stain ink that I'd already added. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the side of my dropper down the edge of the tag where I have inked, watered, sprayed. Now, if you tip it, obviously your ink is going to run. There's nothing wrong with that. look at that. How that's cool. I like that. I want it a bit darker up here and along the top there. Okay, I'm going to dry this. Right, and now we're going to have a look at these and think about what we can do. So this needs something. Got my little water bottle here, my water ink. This was ink that I used earlier. So we're going to squirt. This has had a bit of a combination of inks in it. It's had Indian ink and it's also had walnut stain. So just going to pop a drop or two in there. Doodling on these, but that cutout is it doesn't kind of work, but because it doesn't work, I think it does. And once I've got the stitching in this, I think it will be even better. I still think we need something a bit darker to bring that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black soot . And I'm going to take my kind of brickish kind of this is the Distress ink. I should probably have got out my archival, but I'm not going to. That's much better. Yeah. And I think once I get the stitching in there, that's going to finish that off quite nicely. What I might do is this needs to dry, so I'm not going to sew that for now. Now this particular one, I did something very similar on some other tags, which I'll show you in a minute. Now I'm going to use my fine calligraphy pen because this actually bleeds really nicely when you add water to it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to draw as if I was drawing a circle and stop where it meets the other cutout, and the same there. And then I'm going to draw a square, and this is kind of going to leave this a little bit to chance because I don't know exactly what will happen to the ink, where it will move once we add the water. You can see those lines are actually now quite subtle. So when I sew this one, I'm going to sew around the edge of the tag, but I'm also going to sew around this cutout to give that a kind of a bit more pop. So that's that one. The other thing I'm going to do is I'll just show you the back of this. No, not that one. That's not done. The back of this one, I actually added some tea dyed paper before I sewed around it on those tags. I'm going to do the same on these too. Now this one is, I've got a bit of a dilemma because I'm not sure what to do with this. I think it needs a little bit more depth. It's a little bit too bright for my liking. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to go ink. So put my flannel down. And I'm just going to, and colour, I think I've got Bundled Sage and Walnut Stain. and I'm gonna that way, and oops, completely missed. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, a bit of that, and now I'm going to just move this around a little bit. That one's not quite dry either, but I think that's now got a much nicer feel, a bit more grungy. So these are these. Where's the other one? Did I do another one? Did I do 4? Where's the other one? Did I? Oh, it's up here. So I'm going to give these a few minutes to dry. I'm going to back them, I'm going to sew them, and then I will come back and show you how they look. Well, my sewing machine had a bit of a hissy fit, and now the screen monitoring is not working. So I hope I am in frame. I'm trying to stay on my board. I'm going to stand up so I can see. I'm really happy with them. This was one that my sewing machine did not like at all. It's not particularly thick, so I'm not sure why. We have this one, which I'm actually really enjoying the kind of smooth curved lines with the hard pointy lines. Technical term there. This one, I just love it. It's very childlike, very Kandinsky. And this one, which hasn't really had the effect that I wanted, but I do really like that tag. I'm just going to quickly show you a few others that I have made. There's that one. That one I'll show you in a minute, because those are going to be a freebie in my group. This one I actually love. That one I used ink on rather than cutouts or anything. And this one, this is another ink one, which I love. And this one I'm not sure about. There's still room to be worked on top of that if it was used as a background. These ones were kind of inspired by cutouts and Kandinsky, bit of collage from my papers. These ones I have scanned, and these ones will be a freebie in my Facebook group. If you are interested, they can, like I said, you can still work on top of them. So these are my tags for these journals. So the next video will be hopefully tomorrow, because I need to crack on and get these finished now. I'm just going to quickly show you. This one will be the giveaway journal. I have sewn this in. I will sew the other one in on film, the other one that we've been making mostly. So this one is looking rather... Oh, I love it. I do. I really love this whole kind of tactile, messy, grungy feel. So that's the giveaway journal. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you didn't mind me talking about some of the artists that we are all inspired by, whether we realise it or not. We all use techniques that Kandinsky and Matisse used. You know, we put circles on all sorts of things, and circles have been around for a very long time. They're not new. So like I said, these three will be these three here. I've printed those, not printed those, these are in my Facebook group as a scan, if you would like to use them and work on top of them. I just really love the colours, and this particular cutout that I've done on here. There is also a piece under there of cutout as well, but it's a bit more obscure. So thanks for joining me. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and I will be back with my all-time favourite #1 artist, and I'm going to show you how he has influenced probably this project altogether, really, with even in the back of my mind, because I hadn't looked at any of his work for a long time. But I will be back. I will see you soon. Take care.